Hello and welcome to our virtual science expo. My name is Bailey and in this video I'm going to be taking you through our activity called Rising Sea. If you would like to follow along or learn how to set this up for yourself, you can click the link just below this video. It will take you to our detailed activity guide and it will tell you step-by-step procedure of what I'm doing, and it will have some further discussion questions on there as well. So let's get started. Rising Sea actually has two different parts. It's got this portion over here that kind of demonstrates how our oceans are rising, and over here it demonstrates how we can actually monitor that. So I'm going to just kind of walk us through what this portion is, and then I'm actually going to use our tools here and display this for you. So for how the oceans are rising, we have these two bins over here. They're filled with the same exact amount of water and just got a little bit of blue food coloring in it so you can see it a bit better. And they represent our two poles. So this one is the Arctic, or North Pole, and it is not a continent, it is just ice floating on the sea. And this one over here, you can see this kind of brown lump inside is representing land. And this is our South Pole, which is the Antarctic, and it is a continent. And that means that it does have a landmass, but there is ice that is sitting on top of that landmass. So the purpose of this demonstration over here is to highlight which one of these, where ice is melting, which one of these is actually contributing to the sea level rising. So what I would do is I would put the same amount of ice in both of these tubs. The ice for the Arctic would go right in the water, like it is on our actual Arctic pole. And over here the ice would go on land, just like it is on the Antarctic continent. And then I would turn these two lamps on and let that ice melt. I'm not actually going to do that because it's really not that exciting to see on video. I'm just going to talk us through that. But normally I would let that melt while I demonstrate this activity over here, and then we would come back to it and we would actually see that the water level has risen, or has risen for the Antarctic side, whereas it has not changed for the Arctic. And I have little markers right on the front that show where the water level started out on. And as the ice melts in the Antarctic, since it's on land, that water is melting and it is adding to the volume of the water, which is our ocean. Whereas over here, the ice was already in the water, so as it melted, it didn't actually contribute to the overall volume of the water. So this is just to demonstrate how the ice on the Antarctic is actually contributing to sea level rising, whereas the ice in the Arctic is not. And this is not to say that the Antarctic is the only place where ice melt is actually contributing to that sea level rise. Places like Greenland that has glaciers that are melting, that is definitely contributing, but the Arctic is not. And that's also not to say that the Arctic can just melt because it's not going to affect our sea levels. It has a whole other implications of ice melting up there, how it's affecting the wildlife, but that is not what this activity is about, so I won't get into that. What I will get into is the second part of our activity, which requires a dry erase marker, some blue food coloring, which I put into our water inside this pitcher right here, so you need a pitcher of water. And then this we actually ordered online for the purposes of this activity. It's got a landscape built into the bottom of this bin, so it shows the change in elevation or the topography of a fake island in here. So we've got like a little volcano and then a change in land shape over it. And then on the front I have drawn 3 little markers, and that is going to be where I fill the water level up to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our water pitcher and I'm going to fill the water in this bin up until that very first line, which is right there. Oh, I also forgot this piece. You're also going to need a plastic piece that fits over the top of our bin. And I'm just going to place that right on top. And then I'm going to actually stand up and look down on it, and I am going to highlight the area in which the water meets our land. So this is our coastline for our island. So this is our first line. Everything inside of this line demonstrates the land of our island. Everything outside is the ocean. So this is actually our coastline that I have just drawn. So now I'm going to add a little bit more water. until we reach that second line, which is right there. And I'm just going to repeat that exact same process. I'm going to stand up and I am going to draw our coastline. So it looks a little bit different because that island has different elevation of lands that it shows. So now everything inside this inner line is what land is actually still above the water, and everything outside of it is our water. So this is our new coastline. I'm going to do this one last time, and then we're going to discuss what is going on here and what this is actually representing. This is our third and final coastline, and the water has went up to the base of our volcano. So it has dramatically changed from that first point where I poured water in to that third point. So now everything inside this inner circle is land, and everything out here that used to be above land, above water, all of the land that used to be above the water is now underwater. And that is what this is showing. So it might look familiar to you guys. This, to me, looks like a topographic map, and topography is the change in land elevation, or just the change in elevation. But this is actually bathymetry, which is the change in the depth of the ocean. So this is showing how our coastlines of this island has changed as the depth of the ocean has changed. So every time I added more water in, our coastlines shrank. And this is definitely happening over a longer period of time. Topographic maps are just one period of time, whereas this could be over years or decades. Scientists at NASA are actually studying this using their satellites, and they are able to record and monitor exactly how our coastlines are changing over time. So there could be a year to 10 years between each one of these lines. So this first line could be 20 years ago, middle line could be 10, and this could be now. And that is representing how how the ice that is on land that's melting is raising the sea levels and thus changing our coastlines here. And I have a little image right here, and this is representing all of the coastlines around the globe. And I don't know if you can see it from this distance, but there are plenty of really big dots on here. And these all represent cities that are directly on coastlines that have over 1 million people. So just by a rough estimate, that's probably between 20 and 40 million people that are going to be affected by our sea levels changing. So that's why it's so important to study and understand what is going on Earth and why we need to start changing our behaviors so that the global temperatures don't increase so rapidly, our sea ice doesn't melt as much, and our coastlines don't change so much. So I hope you enjoyed this activity. I hope it highlighted what is going on as far as our sea levels rising. If you have any further questions, please click the link below this video, find Rising Sea on our guide, and look through our discussion questions. Thanks for watching.